A lot of times in life, something I've noticed is that people are really scared to be themselves because something society tells you, and our general society, whether it's high school or the workplace or all these different environments where you have to conform to a certain type of person, like if you're an office worker, you have to be this certain kind of stoic, like doing your job kind of personality and always just like, pass me that stack of 10 fours. Like you gotta be this laboring person, and the individuality is kind of shunted to one side. Or if you're in high school, or even to a lesser extent university, or even almost any kind of school environment, maybe even elementary school, you're kind of shunted into these little groups where you got your jocks, you got your art kids, you got your whatever, you're putting a label on a person, and suddenly you're not an individual anymore. Even the so-called creative people, they are creative for sure, and I'm sure there are creative people who are also athletes, but the creative people are put into this little box, they're put into this little group where you have to wear this certain type of clothing and be this, and listen to this certain type of music, and suddenly society, whether it's high school is kind of a low-scale version of all of society, is putting a label on you. And suddenly it gets to the point where you're scared to be who you really are and what you really want to do. And I don't think that's fair. I think that society and the media and all these big scary corporations are putting pressure on people to conform to what they think people want, which is kind of a paradox. Like the media sells certain things and says things in a specific way because they think that's what people want to hear, and because it thinks that it'll make them money. And what people really want, like all these women, they don't want to look like the models on those stupid Cosmo magazines. Like they want to, well, maybe they do, but I think that's partially because the media puts a pressure on people, saying like, if you want to be beautiful and loved, and if you want a man to love you, you have to lose 20 pounds and dye your hair blonde and always be pretty. That's just not true, and it shouldn't be true. Maybe some people believe it's true, but again, that's kind of like the media implanting the idea in your head that we all have to look and be a certain way. And doing what you really want, like following your passion. Joseph Campbell, I don't really know who Joseph Campbell is, to be honest, but he said follow your bliss. And that's something that gets shunted to one side in a lot of ways. We forget as a culture that you do need to follow your bliss because something inside you is driving you to follow your bliss. And we forget about that. Like the comedian Kyle Cease posted this video called Wake Up, and it's all about that idea about how we're burying the creativity that we have that's inherent to who we are because society's turning you into a consumer. It's turning you into, like, you feel pressure to worry about what other people think or live up to someone else's expectations, whether that's a parent, a grandparent, even a friend. Like, everyone has expectations of everyone else because we all, consciously or unconsciously, are always judging everyone else based on who we perceive them to be. Like, a first impression can be damning. We're always going to remember our first impression of whoever. Like, a lot of people would say, I'm not a judgmental person, and maybe you're not. Like, I don't think of myself as a judgmental person, but you are going to have your memories of whoever, and you're gonna compare that person to who you believe them to be, and when that gets put out of whack, like out of alignment, it's almost kind of shocking. Like, it's debilitating when you see another side of the person that isn't who you thought them to be, and then that kind of shakes your whole worldview. And other people are doing that to you, too. Like, they're going to put you in this box, and you may be uncomfortable around certain types of people and more comfortable with other types of people, but whatever. It's all, you're only seeing a sliver of everyone. Like, you don't really know a lot of the people you think you know. You don't know their history, their past, what drives them, what's compelling them to be who they are and act how they do. You don't know any of that. Even if they tell you, they're not going to tell you, even if people are telling you their most intimate secrets, like your best friend or even maybe your therapist, patient or whatever, there's so much they're keeping to themselves. So you're only seeing that little reflection, that you want them to be, unconsciously or not, is what, and people are doing that to you. So you just got to look at that and be like, all these people are kind of seeing these opposing versions of me, or these versions of me that either are true or either aren't true or are only true to a degree, and you just have to get rid of that. That's all just a lie. All of it's a lie, because it's what they think, and what they think is just them. So you have to just get rid of all that and do what you want to do. And I think if we stop worrying so much about what either other people or society or all these things that don't matter, there's so much that doesn't matter in the world that people want us to think it does matter. Like, what other people think doesn't matter at all. I mean, you want to do well in the world for sure, but you can't worry about every tiny little thing, and of course money does matter. It does. It shouldn't, but it does. But if we obsess over these things, we forget that life is about all these little moments. All these little moments are the only thing that makes this dream or this life, this reality worth existing. The little moments, the little inside jokes you share with your friends. When you look back on high school and university, well, maybe you remember your grades, but you're not going to care about your grades in retrospect as an old man or woman looking back on your life. You're going to remember the moments, the little inside jokes about something stupid you shared with your friend in 5th period lunch or 3rd period lunch. Like, that's what you remember. That is what's important. Society makes you believe that all these things are important that just aren't. What is important is living your life the way you want to live it as much as possible, going after what you want to do, and trying your best to just realize that when you look back on your life, it's the chances you didn't take that you regret, and it's also kind of the perspective that we all have about what's important is completely wrong. And what we need to do is realize this and kind of shift it, like turn it upside down, and just go, there's so much that I could do, and there's so much that I could be if I just displaced all these things that doesn't matter. Like, it doesn't matter how I look. It doesn't matter how you look. I mean, you don't want to be overweight and depressed and things like that, but you can, you want to try and exercise as much as possible, I guess, but there's this impossible standard that the stupid grocery store magazines put up to your window and saying, this is who you should be, but that's who they want you to be. And every time you think of someone, like people getting bullied in school, they're bullying you because you're not who they think you're a specific way. They're finding something they don't like about themselves in you that might not even be true about you, but they're finding it, and that's what they're pinpointing. It's nothing to do with you. It's entirely them. And when you realize that everything everyone thinks about you to a point is just a lie, you can just shun all that aside and go after what you want to do. Because there's so much that's, you can't let someone else rule whether that someone else is like you want to listen to your parents and your grandparents to a point, because there are a lot of people who have good advice for you and want you to do well. But if you start worrying too much about everything that's really insignificant, you lose sight of these little moments in life. That's the only thing that is really good or really worthwhile in life is doing what you love, following what you love, no matter what it is, and appreciating these little moments. Money is not important. You don't want to go on a spending spree and get in debt, but money is not important. It's not worth the worry. People spend their whole lives worrying about money. That's crazy. These are just little pieces of paper and pieces of metal, that a bartering system that we've created to kind of create order in society. That's not important. It just gives society a structure, but it's nothing to do with who you are, or your soul, or your spirit, or what you, like the deeper you really wants. It's all just junk, really. And when you spend your life worrying about junk, you miss out on what is the only thing that matters, are these moments in life. Thank you.